Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I hope you all are having a wonderful morning so far, or afternoon, since I guess it is noon at on the East Coast. So I'm going to invite my special guest today. We'll do introductions right when we start this. So I hope you all are having a wonderful morning so far. My morning has been great. Just did my, oh, hello, my special guest.
Hello, hello.
Hello. I love your like little Zen background setup.
Yeah, I always kind of feel like it kind of looks like I've got like plants sprouting out of my head. It's like some antlers.
I love it.
But yeah,
It's like a
thank you.
natural crown.
Christmassy, a nice wreath. Yeah, look, they do look like antlers. I've got like.
I kind of like it.
I also like it.
How's your morning going?
It is good. It is going very well. I've been productive so far, which is always good.
That's nice. Are you in your office?
I'm not, no. This is my space at home that I have.
Oh.
Yeah, I will be going into the office after this. But it's a little chaotic in there at the moment, but that's all good. That's just how it is sometimes. So
Oh, well, that's good. Well, first off, welcome. Thank you so much for joining the Planty of Friends podcast, episode 2. I'm so excited to have you as my guest. We've known each other for a little while now, since COVID started, I think. And I've just had a really pleasurable experience just becoming friends with you and doing collaborations with you. Hi, Kari. And you've just been such a joy and really, really awesome person to work with. And I just love the energy that you give. And you're so caring and so thoughtful. And you're so transparent on your social media feeds and just the interactions that we've had. So I couldn't think of a better person to ask to come onto the podcast. So yay, welcome, Freya.
thank you. Well, thank you for having me. I was very excited and honored to be asked to be on this podcast, and particularly as I'm only your second guest.
Yes, yes. It's a ever evolving podcast. I'm trying to figure out the logistics of it all, but for everyone who's watching, I'm gonna have this every other Wednesday, somewhere between 9 to 12 p.m. Pacific time, and then it'll be uploaded on the YouTube channel the day after. But we'll just kick it off. I with your accent, everyone knows kind of where you're from, but where'd you grow up?
I grew up in southeast London in England. It actually, most people don't know exactly where I'm from, so I always say I'm just like a stone's throw away from Wimbledon, where the tennis is.
Nice.
So most people can relate to that. So yeah. But home for me is actually on the south coast, which is where I've lived for most of my adult life. So yeah, when people say, "Where's home for you?" That's what I think of. So
I love that. And I'm assuming you probably didn't play tennis when you were growing up. Did you do any kind of like activities or like fun sports?
I had a couple of very bad tennis experiences.
Oh, no.
But the rackets used to be made out of wood. And so I could I never had enough strength in my wrist to be able to kind of hold on to it. But in answer to your question, yeah, I've done a lot of different things. I did used to play badminton when I was younger, but my big thing was dancing. So I used to compete in Latin American and ballroom and disco, no less.
What? I did not know that.
So you didn't know that?
No, like the disco part. I knew you liked to dance. I thought it was more like interpretive dance or, that kind of dance, but I didn't know you did like ballroom and like Latin dance.
That was when I was about kind of probably between 10 and 12. And then the school that I applied to go to was a performing arts. So then I studied dance there and I did jazz and contemporary. They were my two main forms of dance.
That's amazing. I definitely think you need to bust out some moves, when you next time I see you.
That would be hilarious. Well, I've started dancing again. Did you know that and so I've just gone back to do and so I'm doing exactly the same thing, ballroom, Latin American. It's not quite as easy this time around. But I'm still like wanting to do my exams. Yeah, this time around. So yeah, it's a little more challenging, but it's amazing what body memory is, because so much of it has just come back. So that makes it easier.
Do you find that it helps you kind of with mental health and just stress and that?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the reasons that I started it, because I have tried so many types of exercise. I'm very enthusiastic about that, but I get bored easily. And so that was always something as a kid that I really loved. And for me, yeah, not only is it a great mental health therapy, but also just it's the one place for me where my mind and my body work together in harmony. So yeah, it's very therapeutic in multiple ways. So
I love that. I guess kind of along those lines of mental health and just things that you do to help with that. I know tea is a huge part of that, and obviously that's what you do. Do you want to just talk about a little bit about like how you started your business? What gave you the inspiration to even jump into something like this?
sure, absolutely. So it was when I got married. I did a lot of the creating and making and things. And thank you. Yeah, I got married and we needed to have favors, and obviously immediately for me it was just like customized tea bags would be a great option. But then I'm like, my husband doesn't drink tea, so he had gummy bears, so everybody got like two sets of two sets of favors. But yeah, so it was really after that I'd had so much fun kind of making and creating. And creativity is huge for me. It's a really important part of my life. But so yeah, really, and I was just like, I think there could be something in it in terms of, creating favors for, people who don't have the time, because I think that's what so much of what weddings are about. It's so time consuming, and if you can pass things off. So yeah, I just kind of sat on it for a little while. And because obviously I didn't have my green card at that point, what I decided to do was, if I was going to do this, then I needed to know my product. So I studied tea for a year and a half, and became a certified tea specialist, and fell in love with it, quite honestly. I had no idea how complex it was. And I'm sure it's the same for coffee, obviously, and wine, all of that sort of thing. So, yes, that was, I fell in love with that, but then it kind of went in a different direction. I ended up just selling tea as is, doing the favors on a side, but that never really took off. So yeah, I just focused on tea, and kind of, as you know, the business is evolving and kind of going in different directions now.
I love that. So, can you tell me a little bit more about the process of learning to become a tea master? Because that just like in that tea master, that sounds freaking awesome.
Well, my goal, I didn't even realize that this was a thing, eventually to become a tea sommelier, because you can do that. I don't know, again, I'm not sure about coffee, whether it's the same, but yeah, definitely for tea, you can become a tea sommelier. But, well, I mean, it's
it's a big
I'm
question.
just trying to like, I obviously spent so much time doing this. So there is, obviously, there's such a rich history with tea. It goes back 5,000 years. So, just kind of studying the origins and how it came about, and, how so many different cultures use it in so many different ways, different ceremonies, all of that sort of thing. There was that, and we covered a lot of different countries, in terms of where it's grown, how it's processed, kind of going into the science and the biology of the leaf. And there was a lot of practical, there were a lot of practical assignments, which actually was great fun. So one of the ones that, probably one of my favorite ones actually, was trying the same tea, but using 3 different types of water. So use tap water, filtered water, and I think, was it bottled water, and to just, oh my gosh, the tap water was so disgusting. You often don't realize when you're just drinking something in isolation how it compares to something else, but to kind of do that side by side, like it almost made me think I don't ever want to drink tap water again. But needs must, I'm not a tea snob, so but no, it was just kind of, that's just really fascinating to me. As I say, you wouldn't know that unless you had almost a reason to do the comparison. So yeah, and I think that's probably about it. It was predominantly just the history, obviously the origins, how everything's grown, and really just kind of the basics. Other than that, like obviously, the tea comes from one plant, so that's always, I love telling people that, because they're like, it's a really kind of new and unknown fact, I think, unless you're kind of in the not tea world, but kind of a little more au fait with tea. So
yeah. So I guess I have always wondered, and I actually got a question too from somebody, how did you come up with your company name?
Do you know what? I was wondering whether you were going to ask me this. And I feel like it's going to be very disappointing for people. Okay. So it's a little bit vague to start with, which obviously means that it really wasn't that exciting. But no, I knew that I wanted a something and something. And I love flowers. My mum actually used to have a business, and her name was Flicker and Frog, and I just loved that kind of the way that it flowed. So yeah, I was looking at doodles, I was looking at poodles, I was, like, how do those names work? But then I kind of digressed over to flowers and just kind of had a look at the, kind of the ones that I liked, but then almost just looking down the list, and then, I don't know about you when you figured out like your business name, but something it just feels right. Like you've just, it's just a certain feeling. And yeah, that's how it came about. So yes, I say a little bit disappointing. There isn't any grand discoveries.
No, I mean, I think everyone comes to their business name through some form or another, whether it's like you're trying to find something that relates to your business, but not quite. Like for my business, I wanted it to say something about plants, but I was like, okay, there needs to be something more than just plants. I don't want it to just be like, it's plant centered, not plant exclusive. And so I actually used one of those like name generators, like business name generators. I did, and it was like there was a really good one that I wanted at the beginning, but it was already taken in the domain name. I was like, shit. Okay, so what do I look for now? And then so I was like, okay, well, what do I like? What do my parents like? Like just like super random stuff. And then I love the phrase of like live long and prosper, because it pays homage to my dad. And because it's his favorite TV show. Actually, we ended up watching it. The first go about of Star Trek when I went back home in June. And I was like, okay, well, maybe there's something there. And so I was like, well, let's just marry the two names together. So that's how I got to Live Long and Plant. But I think everyone has like their own journey of how to get there.
I had no idea that's how your business. That's so cool. That's so cool.
Thank you.
Sentimental and personal, and I think that is one of the things that as a business owner you get to choose, and you can make it as personal, or when you're creating your Instagram account or your website, to know that every time you type that in it strikes a chord with you because it brings back a memory, I think is really special. So yeah.
Are there snapdragons in like the flower? Is that prosperous in England, or I don't know anything about that flower.
I don't know much either, but I do have no I have 3 in my garden. and they're very beautiful. Yeah.
I think I saw a picture of it recently. You
Yeah, I
posted
put
it,
it on. Yeah, I put it on my stories actually. Yeah, because I should have put them the other way round though, because the Snapdragon comes first, but I put the Thistle first and then the Snapdragon after.
as long as people know what they look like. I saw it was like, was it really colorful? Was that the one?
Yeah, it's a really vibrant kind of reddy burgundy, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they're lovely. A friend actually bought it for me, I think last year.
Oh,
And
nice.
so like I planted it and it just, I didn't realize it was going to grow so big actually. Yeah, so no, it's in my secret garden and it's my bee garden. I have a bee garden.
You do? What? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. I had no idea.
no, I wanted to. I love the idea, the concept of a secret garden. Like that's just so magical to me. And yeah, and obviously with bees being in decline, and obviously having full reign of what I want my garden to be, I wanted the downstairs area. I wanted to create as a bee garden. So I've got echinacea, I've got lavender, I've got fuchsia. Yeah, I've got lots of things that bees will hopefully like. I actually also wanted to get some mason bees this year. Do you know about mate? You know
I
about
don't know
mason bees?
anything about bees, but I've also never been stung, so I don't know if like I'm allergic to them, so I'm definitely afraid of them, but I think they're very pretty and I love what they do to the planet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They keep us going. So there are many different kinds of bees, and the
Okay.
mason bees actually don't sting. I don't think the worker bees sting either.
Okay.
But yeah, like you can buy these little bee houses that like you put up on your fence,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then they have somewhere to lay their eggs, and obviously, yeah. But I think a lot of people don't know that all bees don't sting. So
Mhm.
I didn't end up doing it this year because there are so many people around where we live, and I
Yeah.
didn't want that to be detrimental and for people to be going, we're going to get
Yeah.
stung as a weekend somewhere. So yeah, next time round. But yeah, that's it, it's kind of, for me, it's just doing what you can, and if that gives the bees some more lunch, then I'm happy to provide the buffet.
I like that. I actually really like that. You should make that some kind of like phrase or
A bee
something.
buffet.
Yes, it'd be I love that. Going back to your business, so what made you decide to become a business owner? Most people go like corporate route or some kind of, job route. What made you actually want to do being a entrepreneur?
So it's purely fluke. I mean, kind of when I was in England and able to work, I kind of jack of all trades, master of none. So, I had a lot of experiences, but I was never in a financial position to be able to have my own business. I think it's what a lot of people aspire to, but it's the practicalities of it. And so obviously when I came over here, I wasn't able to work, I wasn't able to do anything until my green card came through. So really, as soon as I'd obviously had the wedding and I had the interest, I did do the studying, and then it was just like, well, we'll see how I feel afterwards. I haven't lost anything. And it really kind of just snowballed. So I ended up doing a business course, and I put a lot of the work in before, so that as soon as the green card came through, I could just execute with, worst case scenario, like if this is not going to work out full time, then maybe I could go part time, but also get a part time job as well. So really, I was flying by the seat of my pants
Mhm.
to a degree, and I'm very fortunate because in terms of financial position, I have been able to do that, which is a real gift, to be honest. I'm super grateful for that, because not everybody has that opportunity to kind of do what they want based upon bills and finances and all of that sort of
Mhm.
stuff. So yeah, I was in a very fortunate position.
Yeah, no, I was just talking to another small business owner. She actually works out of the active space that I do. And she's from Shanghai, and she's in that same situation where she's like waiting for her work visa, and the only way she can work is if she has her own business.
Yeah.
And so it just sounds really complicated, trying to work here but not being able to. And so it's just, yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. I think kind of looking back now, it actually was really beneficial to me because I think, as we've talked about before, like I had a blog that I did for 3 years. And so that was almost practice to some degree. And I think having done that, that was that propelled me to where I am in my business now, because I realized that, you know, I want my business to be like, I want to feel about my business like I did about my blog. And kind of that, just I was missing something and I didn't feel like that. So yeah, so it's all what's come up until now, it's all been beautifully synchronistic.
I love that. I love that you've put a positive spin towards something that some people could take as, you know, such a crappy circumstance or situation. Um, so how would you describe your brand?
Oh my gosh. How would I, you know what, this is actually a really difficult question for me.
Mhm.
Um, because my heart and soul is in it, and that's almost what goes into it, rather than kind of thinking like kind of being on the outside and looking in. But you know, I want my brand to be accessible to
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
I want it to be relatable. Um, you know, obviously to have a reputation where, you know, it's very high quality tea. People can know where it comes from. Yeah, I think that those aspects for me are probably, I shoot for those goals, and then I think everything else comes together. I know that's probably a bit of a higgledy-piggledy way of approaching things, but it's, you know, like, it's the way that I work, and it's the way that I feel comfortable, and it's the way that I'm productive. Yeah, so
No, I love that. And I love that it's more than just tea, right? It's about the experience. It's about incorporating your personality, who you are, and ingraining that in the fundamentals and the core tenets of your business. Because I think that a lot of business owners get stuck with it being just a product or a service that we provide. Whereas with, you know, the help of Lisa, we both gotten help from her, and
yeah,
Brooke, and just all of these other ladies that we have in our lives, we're able to evolve our brand outside of something just outside of just a product and service base.
yeah,
But it's more so sharing who you are, if you're comfortable with that. Like we were talking about with Clara yesterday, everyone has a different way of maneuvering their business. But if you're comfortable with sharing, you know, a little bit of who you are and incorporating that, then I think I mean personally, and it could change. My opinions can change. Um, it's more holistic, more wholesome, I guess. I don't know if you
absolutely.
agree.
No, I do very much so. And I think one of the other things that I feel, based upon obviously what my brand is and what it stands for, is I do have this, you know, if people are attracted to my brand and they like my tea, then that's great. But if they don't, then that's okay too. You know,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna really work hard to get everybody in, because it doesn't work like that. And I think with the transition,
Mhm.
obviously in my business, post Lisa, you know, that really has been a complete game changer. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yes. What are some key learnings that you've had throughout this whole transition?
Oh gosh.
That's a big question. You don't have to answer if you like any question that I ask, you don't have to answer if you don't feel like if
No,
it's too
you know,
much.
I'm very open. You know, I think the biggest thing for me has been exactly what you were just saying. When I first got into this, I was so busy pushing you know, like, oh, well, I sell tea, so that's what I've got to do. You know, it never occurred to me that that I should be, you know, putting myself in there.
Mhm.
Um, and that's just made the journey so much easier,
Mhm.
along with, you know, just, you know, if people are interested in my brand, in me, then they'll come, they'll buy tea. If they're not, that's okay, and they can go somewhere else. But yeah, I think that's been the game changer. And obviously the workshops that I'm going to be offering
Mhm.
um, are just me in a nutshell, really. um, it's almost like I'm putting myself out there, and the business, this is going to sound terrible, I don't mean it to sound like like I'm putting myself out there, the business is trailing behind, and what I'm doing, it kind of catches up, and it's a lot more authentic, I think. More kind of about, I guess, my beliefs and how I want, what I can do for the community. And then yeah, it's, you know, if people are interested, if people want to be part of that, then that's great, because that's, you know, what I'm striving for.
I love that. Along the lines of just getting help with, you know, building your business and taking you through this journey, like what kind of help have you had throughout the journey? Because I know we're solopreneurs, but we're not by ourselves. Whether it's like emotional help or actual website help or, you know, that kind of thing.
I was incredibly fortunate, actually. When I first started this, a mutual friend of mine and Anton's, he is an incredible graphic designer, and he designed my logo for a bottle of whiskey. I wanted to pay him, but he wouldn't let me. Yeah,
That's
he's
amazing.
exceptional. And I was just like, can you find a bottle of whiskey that is above like $100? Because I'm not prepared to pay anything less than that. So yeah, I mean, Anton, my husband, worked on my website. He helped me out a huge amount with that. That probably wouldn't have come together without him. I did, well, I mean, there are so many people along the way that have helped out, you know, kind of the small market community, you know, the fact that I got in with Attracted Tavern, that then got me into, that was the beginning of the kind of maker community that I'm now part of, and obviously how I met you. I want to say kind of they're the major ones. There is actually one other thing, which I am perfectly okay to share, but I actually was in treatment for an eating disorder, and as I was kind of going through my recovery, that we had to make goals every Monday evening, and so at that point the business was just starting to, like, I was just doing the business plan and all of that sort of thing, so every Monday would be a business goal. So essentially, as my recovery has continued, my business has grown. So they're working in tandem, which is why my business is extra special to me, because it represents a lot more than just kind of a business. But yeah, that was super special.
I love that. Well, first off, thank you for your transparency. I know it's not
Of
easy to
course.
share a lot of stuff like that, and we've talked obviously of certain things, but it's different when you're sharing it to other people to hear. But I think your candor really helps other people put some relation or put, you know, you're not alone kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think also because there have been so many things, kind of just general health issues that over the years, like, I've had to deal with, and I've had to be transparent about, whether that be for my safety, other people's safety, kind of, you know, I've just got to the point where I'm like, nah, I don't care anymore. Like, you know, I just, this is what it is. You know, there are plenty of people out there who are experiencing the same thing. And yeah, almost, I just don't feel, hiding just feels like a lot of effort, to be honest. So yeah, that's why I am like I am, just very open. So yeah, that's been a huge support for me
I
as
love
I've
that.
come along.
No, I love that. I guess similarly, like I've always had problems with weight, as I've told you before, and I think sharing that with other people, it's something that I just kind of internalized from like a young age. But I think with COVID, like it ballooned up, and I didn't want to take those branding photos, like I told you, and um,
Yeah.
it just got to a point where I was like, I don't want to let a superficial thing that bothers me but doesn't bother anybody else, let that kind of affect who I am or hinder me from doing things, I guess. And so that's why I did the photo shoot, and that's why I share it with people, because I don't want it to be where, you know, because I feel fat, is the reason why I can't take a step forward in the business. Like that just
Yeah.
sounds so dumb. Well, it doesn't sound dumb, but now looking back on it, for me, it sounds dumb. For other people, I get it. Like weight is always going to be something where it's like a society pressure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Expectations, like you're meant to fit into this thin body, which means that you're healthy and blah blah blah. So
yeah,
I don't conform to a lot of those kind of
exactly. It's it's like a daily struggle, but I think the vulnerability side that we were sharing yesterday on your chatty time, everyone go check that out every Tuesday, 9:30 around there. Plug. But I think the way that we talked about vulnerability and even Kari sharing her, you know, her vulnerable pain points, I think the more that we share, the more that we will have grace and respect for each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think to a degree, I certainly for me, excuse me, I actually find it extremely cathartic.
Hmm.
So, it's probably just as much for me when I talk about these things, then, kind of as well as, kind of hoping that somebody out there is like, oh my gosh, like I have experienced that too. And I think
Hmm.
I want to say thank you to you also for sharing, because these things are so personal.
Hmm.
Um, when you're, I don't know, kind of Instagram's kind of cool because it's a place where you can air your dirty laundry, and it's so, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because there's no immediate face there, so it's just like you put it out there, and it's like, oh, someone will probably read it at some point, but that's
yeah,
okay. So,
definitely. Do you think that going back to community, do you think that it's important to find kind of like not necessarily like your tribe, but like the people you click with? Like, how important is that in this whole process of being a small business owner?
that's been really important to me, not only for the support that people are able to give me, but the support that I'm able to give other people.
Mm-hmm.
Our community is incredible. And I would pull all the stops out to be there for somebody, but it's really just kind of being part of everybody's business experience. Like
Yeah.
you've got your business, but then to be part of a community, you get to see everybody else flourishing too.
Mm-hmm.
um I don't think, I mean, I want to say I don't think I would have been as successful. um I I don't think my life would have been as rich as it is
Mm-hmm.
without kind of all my community in it. And again, I do believe that kind of like attracts like, and you
Mm-hmm.
attract what you need. So all of these people that have come into my life are here for a reason. I love them dearly, and just kind of proud to be part of that community. But yeah, I think if you don't have that, it's very difficult to really kind of get out there, because we are pretty much all sole business owners.
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't really anybody else. We're in the office, we're producing, we're, making, we're doing everything on our own. And so to
Mm-hmm.
have that community is also very important, to be able to engage with people and not be so isolated.
Mm-hmm. Um, for people, a lot of people come and ask me, how do you find these markets? How do you find these communities? And you can share one-off things here and there, but how did you start finding markets or communities to get involved with?
So I actually Googled, first of all, and nothing really came up.
Hmm.
I was really surprised because I'm like, I know that there are markets around the
Oh
city.
yeah.
And I actually was walking down Ballard Ave with a friend, and she wanted to go and say hi to her friend who was working the bar at the Tractor Tavern. And I had
Mhm.
no idea that they had a market there. And so like I've always got my antennae out. And I went and spoke to Alex, and I was just like, like, are you looking for new vendors?
Mhm.
Explain, what I was doing. And she was just like, yeah, let's keep in touch. And we have it once a month. And yeah. And so I managed to get in there, and really from there, again, once you get into that community, everybody
Mhm.
looks out for each other.
Definitely. Yeah, and it just kind of spider webs, right? Like after that, you meet people and they tell you something, and then that comes to another market or another big event, or, it could be
Absolutely.
something as small as like our garage driveway bar that
Yeah,
we did.
absolutely. Thank you, Stephanie.
Yes, thank you, Stephanie. Oh my gosh, she is such a huge proponent of small businesses and makers, and she is wonderful. The Ballard Elks Market, I'm so looking forward to. And she just does so much for the community. I'm very thankful for her. I even told her once, I was like, Stephanie, out of all the markets that we do, I think I feel the most comfortable at your market because of the way that you manage everything.
Absolutely. And she's just so easy to kind of communicate with and to be with.
Mm,
Her energy is just so uplifting. Um,
definitely. Yeah,
yeah.
no, she's great. Kind of pivoting. So, taking a look at like your teas itself, how do you even choose like what
Uh,
to get, or what you like?
so obviously I do a lot of tea tasting.
Mhm.
I am a huge black tea fan, so that was definitely something on my radar when I
Mhm.
decided when I was choosing my teas, I was just thinking really about what people drink. And
Mhm.
also in terms of kind of finances, what I could afford, because it's bags, it's labels, it's, all of
Yeah.
that thing. It's not just the tea itself. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I had my black tea, but then I also wanted to make sure that I had a good selection of caffeine-free teas,
Okay.
because I have spoken over many years to people who are just like, oh, we're coffee drinkers, but we're trying to kind of transition to tea.
Mhm.
But then, we can't really handle caffeine that well, so we want something before
Mhm.
we go to bed. So that was really important for me to kind of cater to everyone.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, really, it's just kind of tasting. One of the things that I am trying to avoid is to purchase teas which have artificial flavorings in them.
That's right.
I personally don't enjoy drinking teas with artificial flavors in them, purely because it's just the taste. I'm not a don't want to have artificial flavorings, because it's purely on the flavor.
Mm.
Um, and really, I'm not going to carry something that I don't like.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind there's a difference between carrying something that you don't like and carrying something that you don't enjoy drinking. Like, those are two very different things. Like, I'm not a huge herbal tea fan,
Mhm.
but that's really important to have, because loads of people love it,
Mhm.
and it's a great form of beverage.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I just don't enjoy the taste, because it's almost like it takes away from the tea. That's
Oh,
how I
I see.
feel, and I really enjoy the flavor of tea. Like, if you've got it scented, like the jasmine dragon pearls that I have, then that's a
Mhm.
completely different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
Um, because you can still taste it, but it's so delicate, because it's literally just the jasmine leaves that have been laid in between the tea leaves. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's hit and miss. If I see something I like the look of, I'll try it. If it doesn't work, then it's a no. But it's just a really enjoyable process, to be honest, whatever the outcome. So,
Definitely. So two things. I really enjoyed our tea tasting that we did, I think last
oh
year for your
yes, we
holiday.
did, didn't we?
Yes,
Yeah.
that whole experience, I had never done anything like that before. And just first off, sitting down away from my phone was like the the biggest thing. And then secondly, doing something that I had never done before. I love tea, but I had never done like tea tasting. And it was so enjoyable with you. I think you made the process very comfortable, fun, and very unique. I must say, I think that honestly, that should be something, or not should, but I would say, like, if people wanted to do tea tastings, like, that should be something you incorporate.
That's so interesting. Actually, I had forgotten about that.
Hmm.
And you tried the Christmas teas, didn't you?
Yeah,
Okay, and I will give the admission that they actually do have some artificial flavorings in them, but
it's the holidays.
um, exactly. Um, but on the whole,
Yeah.
no, that's so interesting, because that's obviously what my workshops are, and so
Oh,
for you to
segue.
just say all of that, that's exactly what I'm shooting for within that. So that's really interesting, and thank you for bringing that up, because I'm going to take that away with me, and it's just kind of reaffirmed
Oh, of
what
course.
I'm meant to be doing. So thank you.
Well, if you ever need, like random thoughts, you know where to turn to, because I got random thoughts sparking
Or
everywhere.
tea tasters.
Oh yes, tea tasters.
I'm always on the lookout for them.
Yes, no, definitely. So speaking of black, so I know that you like black tea. But is there a specific black tea in your line that you really love?
Oh yes, it's so funny. So many people ask me this, and I just don't even have to think twice. It's like Ceylon black tea.
Yes, for the win.
Oh, and you have it without milk, right?
Yes.
You're hardcore. I mean, it's delicious, but just, I guess, with my, kind of history in terms of like being back home, and it's black tea with milk, but it's got a kick to it. It's a good robust tea. So yeah.
Oh, definitely. So I'll forget how long it steeps because I'm just like working. And so sometimes I will admit I let it steep for like an hour, 30 minutes to an hour.
Oh my God.
I just forget. I know. I should not be confessing these things to you.
I'm so excited to hear what you have to say. No, this is so intriguing to me. This is fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm a huge tea steeper too long person. Because I'm always doing stuff, whether it's like transitioning to the kitchen or doing business or my full-time job. And so I'll forget. I'm like notorious for this. Ryan will be like, your coffee has been sitting here for 2 hours. I'm like, oh great, let me drink it now. So so I will let tea steep for like an hour, and I will tell you the complexity of it. It's so bold, first off, probably because the caffeine has been steeping for way too long. But like the richness of the Ceylon tea and all of your teas, like if you let it steep for a really long time, you're probably not supposed to do that, first off, sorry. But
to their own, honestly.
Okay.
There is I have guidelines, but it's so personal. People, find their own way and what works for them. So
yeah, and after you told me that I could steep the black tea at least a couple times with the same bag or the same like steeper, I've been just letting it sit. So the first time I do it, it's very bold, very complex. It almost tastes like not tea where you can tell it's been diluted with water, but it almost tastes like a juice or like something not watery.
Yeah.
And so I love it. Like the only word I can think of is like lacquer, like the thickness of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and so I love the taste of that, and so I'll drink that the first time, and then the second time will taste probably like regular tea because that's how it's supposed to be, like not so long. But Ceylon, for the win. Love that one. And then Ryan really likes your Earl Grey tea. He said is the best Earl Grey tea he has ever had.
Wow, that's quite a statement right there. I feel very honored that mine should be his favorite. I have to say, I did do a lot of, I think I've said this to you, I worked really hard with the Earl Grey because it's not a natural flavor that I gravitate towards, because I feel like the bergamot, there's a very fine line between overdoing it and it being overpowering and perfumey, and obviously then not being able to taste it enough. And so I drank a lot of Earl Grey until I found this one, and this balance is just I do drink it actually.
Nice. Yeah, no, it's great. And in Star Trek, Jean-Luc Picard, he always says
Earl Grey,
tea.
hot.
Oh
yeah. Tea, Earl Grey, hot. Anton loves Star Trek, so
oh yay, another Star Trek fan. I love it. We're gonna build a tribe of Star Trek lovers.
Oh my God, he can, I'm sure, bring in many.
Yes, he always drinks that, and so whenever Ryan has it, he says that. That's the same phrase every time. And I'm like, babe, you're saying it too much. He's like, I just gotta say it. Like, that's just what you have to say when you drink Earl Grey tea. Not for everyone, but for us, yes.
No, I think that's awesome. Just waiting for it to come.
Yes, exactly. Switching back to your solopreneur journey. So as a solopreneur, we wear many hats, right?
do.
What is one hat you absolutely love, and what is one hat you would rather pass off to somebody else?
Okay, well, social media, we know, would be the one I'd pass off. I
Yeah.
actually do really enjoy doing social media. It's not that I don't enjoy it, but it just sucks up so much of my time.
Hmm.
Even designing and scheduling and doing all of that sort of thing, that takes time. And then obviously on top, you've got you've got the stories and you've got the reels, and then you've got
Hmm.
TikTok, and obviously kind of we're veering more into the kind of the video aspect of it,
Hmm.
which is good because I have to learn something different, but it's just kind of an added kind of an added task on top of
Yeah.
everything else. And I'm very slow at reels, like those ones that the two that I sent. I can't even tell you how long they took to that was just like at least probably an hour if not more. um
At
yeah,
least you
so but
attempted
no,
it. Yeah.
what's that?
At least you attempted it. I suck at reels. Yeah.
You're so good. You do so many. No, it's really good. I think you're excellent.
Thank you.
That's my thought. So no, that's what I would pass off.
Hmm.
Um, one of the hats that I love wearing is doing pop-ups, and obviously kind of a large source of income for me is
Hmm.
the pop-ups, is the wholesale. And so just I love people. So, I
Hmm.
kind of feel like even if you're not going to buy tea, but you come up and we have a chat, like I get a lot out of that,
Hmm.
just kind of being part of the community and chatting with people. And
Hmm.
that's something that, yeah, I find uh, not so much inspiring, but I just kind of like it feeds my soul. Um,
Definitely. No, you're so vibrant and so vivacious when you go and do your pop-ups. Like, we're usually next to each other or
we
somewhere
are.
close to each other. We are booth mates. Yay. But you are just so vibrant, and the way that you carry on a conversation with people, whether they buy tea or not. I honestly think people sometimes buy tea from you because of the conversations you have with them. They didn't come with the intention of buying anything, but they left with like a bag of tea, which is
Yeah.
amazing. That's an amazing like skill and gift you have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any expectations of anyone. I think, and the reason for that, I think, is because there is nothing worse than when I go into a store and I've just people, what you
Yeah.
looking, how you doing? Like, it's
Yep.
just like, like I may come in here and just look and not buy anything, and that's perfectly fine. But I don't
Hmm.
want to just feel like I have to buy something because as six people have come over to me like in the 20 minutes that I've been in the store. I find that extremely off-putting. And you can tell that kind of people feel awkward at times, when
Hmm.
they chat, and it's quite clear that they know that they're not going to buy anything, and it's just
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine. Just thanks for coming, stopping by, and if you haven't supported me, thank you for supporting, other small businesses in the community. Um,
Exactly.
so yeah.
Nice. Ah, there's so many questions I have, but so little time. We're gonna have to do a part two, obviously.
I was
Um,
going to say that. I'm up for that. I'm
oh,
totally
good.
okay with it.
100%. I do want to ask though, like when you first started out, now knowing where you are now, what is one piece of advice you wish you would have had?
Um, I think just trust. That would have been because I think I spent a lot of time getting stressed and oh, this isn't happening, oh, that's happening, people aren't
Hmm.
doing, people aren't coming in, they're not looking at my website, blah blah blah, which obviously is something that I think everybody experiences. But at the beginning, if I could have just trusted that everything would have is going to work out just as it needs to be, like
Hmm.
I needed that block,
Hmm.
the kind of that marketing block, and had I not had that, I wouldn't have worked with Lisa and then kind of been where I am now, which is
Hmm.
huge. So no, I think just trusting in the process would be my advice.
I love that. And kind of on the other side, now that you are where you are, outside of trust, which is huge. Like trusting the process, trusting the journey, right?
Oh,
Like trusting yourself to know that you are capable of making decisions, good decisions, sometimes bad, but sometimes good, that will make your business prosperous, make you prosperous, not only from a financial standpoint, but from a mental standpoint, from a growing standpoint, right? Like trusting that everything that you do, you are capable of, is so
hard.
valuable.
Yeah.
um,
Some
and
days
I,
it's easier than others, I'm sure. I
yeah,
don't know if you find that.
oh,
Um,
100%. Yes, you've heard my little like tirades and
yeah.
crazy crazy
That's
moments.
why community is so important. You need to be able to vent.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
and
Yes.
people understand because they're in the same boat. So
Yeah. Speaking of that, when you find yourself stressed, what is something that you go to, or how do you cope with it?
um, well, I guess my husband probably gets my tirade of insecurities, if truth
Same.
be known, if we're being honest here.
Yeah.
Um, Dancing has been something that's been wonderful to do alongside as a stress relief to a
Hmm.
degree. But actually taking the time with tea for me is the big one, kind of the tea and the meditation, and
Hmm.
just being so focused and kind of, I don't know, sensorily, no, sensory awareness. I always want
Yeah.
to say sensorily, but I don't think that's a word. But you know what I mean. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I think it just really takes you, or takes me out of my head, even if it's for a short period of time, but to just sit down in a quiet space with my great big mug, and I just put leaf tea in it. I don't do any strainers or anything like that. And I just put the water in, and just to hold the cup and to feel the warmth and to smell it and to feel the tea, to hear it, because tea leaves sound different if you take the time to actually
Okay,
listen to
we're
them.
gonna have to try that next time. Like the auditory. Now that you say that, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I need to experience that.
Um, yeah, it's, tea really is a sensory experience. And to be able
Mm.
to develop a practice where, kind of you do certain things, and again, everybody's different, so it looks different. It's a different model for everybody. But, I do have a teacher who does the tea and meditation. She's amazing. I do a lot of my workshops with her. And just it completely took tea to a new level for me.
Hmm.
And I always reset every single time I reset. It's quite incredible. So yeah,
I love
that's
that.
one of the things that I like to do, and obviously having living things around me whilst I do that too.
Yes.
Plants are a huge. They have huge importance for me. Yeah, because obviously the tea is tea is a plant, and then
Yeah.
to I'm a crystal gal, and
Hmm.
candles, all of that sort of thing. It's creating the energy too. It's
Hmm.
creating energy.
I love that. Um, I always ask this because I say awesome sauce a lot. And
I saw that.
what is an awesome sauce moment that you've had while running your business?
Okay, I was thinking about this, and there is one moment which just surpasses everything that I've ever done
Hmm.
in my business, is when I had my last session with Lisa, and
Oh yeah.
wasn't that long before kind of we were done, but we were talking, and then it was just this huge epiphany. Like, it was just humongous. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I meant to be doing. Obviously it was kind of the whole workshop,
Hmm.
and it just seemed, suddenly looking forward, it didn't seem, I didn't feel like I had so much pressure on
Hmm.
myself. And it seemed like it would be a lot more straightforward, because I was able to be authentic and
Hmm.
pursue my you know, kind of opinions and beliefs, and to be able to reach out to people, because I think that's a lot of what I'm about and what I love to do. I like to be able to use my experiences to reach out to people so that they can relate, and to be able to do that. And that was because obviously with blog post, I say, you know, kind of I wanted to feel the same way about my business as I did about that blog that I had. And that was that moment. I was just like, oh my gosh, I can incorporate all of these things. And then my mind just went, shh, you know, I'm like, yeah, it was just the most incredible moment for me, and surpasses any other by far.
I love that. Well, Lisa is the goosebump moment generator.
Oh,
So
she is.
yes, the Golden Brand Co. Y'all need to check her out. She's amazing. But yeah, she's great at taking the things that are in your head that are just like garbled and then producing something that's just amazing, magical almost.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
really gifted. She's very, very gifted. And her, she's so intuitive, and I think that's a huge part of, you know, how to, you know, why she does what she does and how well she does it. So yeah.
Oh, definitely. And you can tell that she cares. Like she cares about not only you, but and not only you during the process that you're working with her in that intensive time, but even afterwards. She always checks in. She's always promoting you. Like
Yeah,
there's so many things great about her that we could probably spend a whole hour just talking about.
absolutely. Maybe we should do that and invite her.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Yeah, she's gonna definitely come to one of these things.
Oh, that's a really good
Yeah,
idea. Oh my gosh.
yeah, definitely. What is one piece of advice that you would give to other people outside of trust the process?
Oh, I was just going to go back to that. That's so funny.
No, we gotta choose something else.
What would, I think probably don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged, because that's something that's very easy to do, because there are always so many things to do. You know, the to-do list never gets shorter. It often just grows. And I think, yeah, it's very easy to look forward, but not to look back and see how much you have done. So, yeah, it will all come, and it all happens as and when it's meant to. So, yeah,
I love
don't
that.
be discouraged.
Yes,
Don't be
definitely.
discouraged.
It's there's like peaks and valleys, right? In every business. And some days you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this anymore. Like nobody wants to buy my stuff. Nobody likes me. These are things that I think of
No.
on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But yeah, just trust the process and don't be discouraged. I love those. Um, what are some upcoming events that we can find you at?
Ooh. So this Saturday with you, we have the Edmonds Summer Market. And then you can find me in West Seattle on the 31st by
Yeah,
Molly's
my
Coffee
hood.
Shop.
Michelle's hood too. Hey.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be, I think I'm there from about 12 to 4. I've got the Tractor Tavern on the 8th of August. And for those of you that plan ahead and like road trips, for my sins, I've signed up to the Portland Christmas market, 4-day market. I'm
That's so
actually
exciting.
so excited about that, but there are just a lot of moving parts that I'm going to have to
Sure.
figure out. But I think once I get there, it's going to be really, really exciting. I'm going to have a
Well,
lot.
I'm so happy for you. I honestly cannot wait to see your brand evolve and all of the amazing things that you have lined up. The workshops, the tea workshops, we're gonna definitely get together and have more tea because I need to get this auditory experience I haven't like tapped into, I guess, apparently.
You can test my workshop because I'm doing beta testing right now.
Oh
So.
yes, sign me up. I will be the guinea pig. Where can we find your teas?
So I am online, snapdragonthistle.com. As I say, you can find me at the pop-ups around the city. Happy Days and Funny Nights in Belltown, it's 98 Virginia Street. They carry my teas. Marnin and Sailor in Pike Place Market. I have produced an exclusive tea for them. It's a delicious strawberry sencha.
Which
So
sold out, right?
Mm-hmm. It's
Mm-hmm.
yummy. I think, oh, and Found in Ballard. It's a new store that's just popped up, and it supports small businesses. So there are lots of different vendors there, and it's just a really lovely space. So I think that's it.
Amazing. Well, is your website Snapdragon and Thistle.com, right?
That's me.
Yay! Well, thank you so much for joining me. I absolutely loved learning more about you, which I thought I knew you, but obviously there is a lot more to unravel. So,
I'm a
and I
dartboard.
yeah, and I hope everyone enjoyed listening to you too. There was a lot of gold nuggets. I cannot wait to have a part two of this, and I can't wait to see you on Saturday.
I'm excited. Yes, I will message you about that.
Yes.
But yeah, it's going to be great fun. Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's been I've had a really, really lovely chat with you.
Oh, good. Well, thank you so much for being on here. As always, it's such a pleasure talking to you, and I just appreciate you and adore you and love you. So thank you.
Me too.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Have a beautiful day. Bye.
Bye.